Okay, so this is part 2 of me going into the disability kind of things. So one of the things that I type here is what athletes with disability face. Okay, so I just Google it and I'm just sharing it with you. Alright, what do people with disability face? It's pretty much what I type. Let's see what they say. Okay, disability include blindness, low vision, leprosy, cured, I don't know what is that, hearing impairment, locomotor disability, mental retardation, and mental illness. Due to discrimination, they do not go to public places and not free to get those rights which a non-disabled person gets. Okay, some of the challenges faced. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna go into that website and I will put the link in the description. Okay, and you know, I might come back to some of these things at other points too if I have ideas or I thought of something. So many of these topics I might come back to at some point. Okay, disabled people are large minority group. Okay, this is very interesting. Large minority group, because there are a lot of them out there. So this is why I feel like there's a market for them. Okay, but it takes a lot for training. So I think the part that Harry is focusing on is to get their mind off of their misery, be function, be, you know, do things and stuff like that. Don't just stay in a corner thinking you're not worth something. So that's what I think Harry is pushing them to be out there, be part of life. All right. So, okay, disabled people or large minority groups starve of services and mostly ignored by society, live in isolation, segregation, poverty, charity, and even pity. See, this is the part Harry wants to take away from them. You should not feel pity of yourself, or people should not feel pity for them. But in one of my video, I was like, and I couldn't believe I thought about it, is give them the tool to do the things that they need to do. I didn't put it like that. I said it better on the other on the other video. But yeah, disability includes blindness, low vision, leprosy, cured, hearing impairment, locomotor disability, mental retardation, and mental illness. Due to discrimination, they do not go to public places and not free to get those rights which a non-disabled person gets. They are deprived of education and employment. In the US, I know in New York, there's a school for the blind. I think there's several of them. There's one in Brooklyn, I believe, and there's one in Manhattan. Yeah. If I see the link, I'll put it in the description. Not description, I'll show it on the screen. Mainstream and universal access for persons with disability are ultimate goal of the disability movement. This means the removal of all cultural, physical, social, and other barriers that prevent a person with disability from equally accessing opportunities and participating fully in all aspects of life in South Africa. So this is in South Africa. As I'm reading it, I was like, these are some of the things I think I just read on part 1. But I'll leave this in the description. But they put some bullet point. Let's see what they say here. Accessibility is often used to focus. Okay, so they have accessibility, which I covered in part 1. Information, transport to buildings, to healthcare. So yeah, see part 1. Part 1 pretty much explain all of this, but if you want to read this article, I'll put it in the description, because I think I cover it in part 1 with the ADA Act of 1990 in the US. Okay, so what are the 5 barriers person with disability? Let's see what they say here. 5 biggest mobility barriers for people with disability. 1. Accessibility to doctor's office and clinics due to barriers. Individuals with disability are less likely to get routine preventative medical care than people without disability. Public transportation barrier. High unemployment numbers. This I could believe. The need for the fair housing. Yes. Disability awareness. And this is where Prince Harry is, disability awareness. And that's where I want to come in to shed more light to it, to sort of help Harry shed more light to it. That way, eventually, those athletes he's boosting, could get some sort of sponsors, because training for any sports takes a lot of money, especially them, because they need the proper tools, to do the things, to compete. And with high unemployment in their type, their group, so they need funding to help them get the proper tools. So all these are interlocked. Okay, so these are the 5 biggest. I don't want to go into it, but this is good enough. I don't know, should I just got it from Google, so you guys could type it. What was the question? What are the 5 barriers for person with disabilities? Just type that and you probably will see this. What problem do disabled people face in sport? That's a good one. Okay, maybe I'll go into that. Typical barriers for people with disabilities to participate in sports include lack of awareness on the part of the people without disability as to how to involve them in the team adequately. Okay, lack of opportunities and programs for training and competition. Too few accessible facilities due to physical barriers and limit. This is a good one, so I'm gonna go into it. So I sort of have an idea about this. I mean, I'm not saying I know, but you just could see it. You could see the problem that they will face. Okay, that's part of 2. Okay, I'm just typing the link, so even if I don't finish read all of it, you guys could go in that particular website and check it out yourself. Okay, abstract. For the last couple of decades, okay, UNESCO, okay, what does it stand for? There's no link, I don't know what it stands for. Okay, has aimed to achieve to a far extent the implementation of the guiding principle of inclusion at all levels of an education system worldwide. The idea that countries should ensure an inclusive education system. Okay, what is this? What does inclusion in sport mean? Okay, let me finish with the first paragraph and then I'll go to the one I just saw here. The idea that countries should ensure an inclusive education system at all levels is also a central objective of a UN convention, okay, on the right of persons with disabilities. The introduction to the special issue explores what participation as an aspect of inclusion means in general and realistically can mean in sport. Okay, so they do talk about sport and quality physical education in particular. Sport is introduced as a context in which, unlike in education, the individual voice of a sporting activity on a spectrum ranging from separate activities for person with disability to modify activities designed for all makes it necessary to attribute each approach equal importance and validity instead of discrediting segregate structures and glorifying supposedly inclusive ones. Interesting. Okay, I'll skip all of this, but I'll go into it's too much, the issue of different wording disabled people. I remember there was a time I was working in Manhattan near 92nd, what's that thing? 92nd is an organization. They sometime on TV. 92nd, why is it there? 92nd something. It was very snowy. Usually in the city, those corners, there's like puddles when there's snow and stuff like that. It's very mushy. And I was like, oh man, should I help this blind person cross the street? And I felt really bad, and I saw the danger come, ahead. So I volunteered myself to help her cross the street. And I didn't know. At first, I took it personal. But as I learned later on, I understood her. I didn't say anything, but I was like, in my mind when she spoke to me, and I was like, but I was trying to help you and stuff like that. But I could not, like I said, later on I understood what she meant by what I'm gonna share with you, is that when I offer my service to her, she accepted it. But what I did not know, I grabbed her hand and she said, no, I should grab your hand, your arm, and then you just guide me to certain things. That's why I was like taking it back and stuff like that. But I understand. And when the first time I understood what she meant, was maybe a couple years later, or could have been a couple months later, and I was like, oh, I understand that. Let's say, for instance, if I were to kidnap her or something like that, or I'm forcing her someplace that she doesn't want to go or something like that, so I could understand that. So it's best for me to just guide her in the direction that she wants to go. Or if I see something in front of her, to tell her, let's move to the right, or let's move to the left, or step up, or something like that. So yeah, that's something I learned a while back. Okay, what does inclusion in sports mean? This volume is organized around the topic inclusion in sport and has particular focus on the participation of people with disability in sport once their access has been secure. This introduction deals in particular with the point that research is clearly indicating, namely that sport is an area of life in which people with disability arguably have less favorable experiences than their non-disabled peers and competitors. What I get from that is that I remember when I was doing the review of the Rising Phoenix, is that when you see now that I'm a little bit wiser, okay, but I don't think before I will see it that way. Now that I am a little bit wiser, I could understand having someone in a wheelchair bound compete with an athlete who has both feet. Why do I say that? Because when racing, and sport in particular, is to exert your most ability of your doing that comes within. Even though the wheelchair bound is using his or her hand to turn the wheel as fast as it can, but the athlete with his 2 feet has to use his feet as far as much as he can. So therefore I could understand, let's say you put someone in a wheelchair to do pull-up, right? You put him or her on the bar to do as much pull-up as possible, and you put someone, a regular person, on the pull-up bar to do as much pull-up as possible. So whether or not the person is disabled or not, it's what within your willpower, your training to do as much as you can. Maybe there's a word for it, that will determine who's better at it. So even though they're using different part, meaning like in the racing track where one is using his feet, the other one is using his arm, even though both of them are using or utilizing different part of the body, but when you think about it, the amount of training both of them need to take to maximize their potential, it really will determine who will win. So this is something I think some of you could correct me on it, because it's the thing within. It's not like they're using a mechanical thing to help them whatever, but you have to use your arm to move the wheel as fast as you can, and the other person have to use his feet as much as he can to get to the finish line. So these come within. So yeah, where was I here? Alright, this introduction to a particular point, research clearly indicate, typical barriers for people with disabilities to participate in sports include lack of awareness on the part of people without disability as to how to involve them in team adequately, lack of opportunities and programs for training and competition, too few accessibility facilities due to physical barriers, not only barriers but money. It takes money and limited information on and access to resources. Yeah. Importance is attributed to the process and mechanism inclusion that operate within sporting environment, and to the question of either what happened or could happen to a person with disabilities who enter the playing field. But I can understand that. I think most people are afraid they might be sued for certain things, but if this is the thing that some places need to think about, if you apply, let's say your facility have the ADA is ADA compliance, and there's a spot for the disabled. Let's say you follow all the rules and guidelines and stuff like that is required for you to provide the space for the disabled to participate in. But let's say there's something, accident do happen, accident do happen, and the person with the disability know the danger of whatever sport, but you cannot let someone box. Let's say someone with no arm box with someone without legs or something like that. So you have to match the same with the same. Like I've seen in college sports where I think I've seen it. Why am I seeing this image in my head? I don't know if it's in college or if it's whatever. Like in wrestling, you have someone, I think without legs, was competing with in regular wrestling team. Oh my God, why am I seeing this image in my head? I think I've seen it. If I'll search on YouTube or something to see if something like that pops up, but for some reason I think I've seen something like that. So yeah, they know the danger of everything. So if you give them the opportunity to participate, there's nothing to worry about. You show them or teach them how to protect themselves in whatever sports that they're doing. That's what training is. Training is to improve on your inability and to know the right from wrong. Even though if you could train as much as you can, things do happen. It could be a fault of another person. So this is what training is. So we need to provide those kind of things for people with disability. Okay, I skipped a couple things here. You guys could check this out. I already I'll put the link in the description. Let me see what else. I'm aiming at least 30 minutes. Okay, barriers involve sports for people. Oh, this is Paralympic. Okay, so that's even better. Okay, this is a better website to even look into that. Paralympicanorak. I don't know what this is. If this part of Paralympic website, I don't know. I just saw it. I click on it. Again, I'll put the link in the description. All right, I'm just copy. Okay. All right. So okay. Home barriers. Let me see what it is about. Okay, final reminder. Usually they have about. Okay. Let me turn back. So this is what I want to read, but I want to know what this is about. I am a researcher and author in sociological, historical, and sport management aspect of Paralympic and disability sport. I am also interested in the use of sport as a tool in the rehabilitation of victims of violent conflict. I currently work as a research fellow in the Center for Business and Society at Coventry University. Oh, that's in UK, I think. I currently supervise 3 PhD students, 2 of which are looking at UK Paralympic sports. Oh, more people are getting involved. Paralympic sports policy, and the other at the Participation Legacy of London 2012. I have 1 completed PhD student who look at the impact of sports on identity reconstruction for British military personnel who have suffered traumatic injuries in Afghanistan and Iraq. I have published 4 books. Okay, so this is a regular person who's into that. So that's why I was like, because it says, his website says paralympicanorak. I was like, what is that? But anyway, so let me go back to the part that says the barriers that they face. All right, I think I put, yeah, the link will be in the description. So this was published in 2012. Okay, some barriers to involvement in sports for people with disabilities. The impact of the perception of people with disabilities and their lives in general and on their participation in sports in particular can be split into three broad areas: psychological, material, financial. See, money is the problem. This is why I'm here, because of the money. I want to help shed light to that sports. That way more people could talk about it. That way those athletes could be sponsored, because it takes a lot of money for training. This, I'm not surprised by it. Okay, psychological, this is where Harry comes in. And material, I think that's where I come in also, because I know the things that they use, it's different. It's more expensive than a regular person with disability will use. The wheelchair is not the same thing you will use on the track. The prosthetic legs is not the same you will use on the track. It's more advanced. So I knew this and that, I knew. So it's not new to me. All right. What follows is a brief introduction into some of the issues that can arise for people with disability in each of these areas. These factors are equally relevant for elite and grassroots participation in sports for people with disabilities. However, by the very fact that some individuals have reached the elite level, it is clear that some or all of these barriers can be sufficiently overcome or mitigate against to allow some individual to progress to the highest level. Yeah, and one of the things that I said is to give them the tool for them to use to reach their goal, pretty much. Okay, so that's that. This I truly believe. Okay, psychological factors, that's Harry's part. Negative societal perception of disability can have a devastating impact upon the self-confidence and self-image of people with disabilities. The idea perpetrated through the perception of disability embedded in the medical model discourse that people with disabilities are incapable of doing things for themselves clash with the need of human beings to feel a sense of independence with their own lives. This I truly believe. This I truly believe. Therefore, so this guy knows what he's talking about. He knows his shit. Therefore, those individuals with disabilities who do require help to perform certain tasks within their daily lives can be made to feel a burden by the action, conscious or unconscious, okay, of those they interact with. That is so true. That example I just gave you of me trying to help someone, and at first I took it aback and I was like, I felt somewhat offended, but after thinking about it, and I was like, she's right. So these things, people need to be aware of it. This, combined with the loss of any feeling of independency or control over their lives, can lead many of these individuals to feel that they have become a burden upon society. And this feeling is probably compounded by the idea of people with disabilities as non-productive members of society, as reported by Middleton, 1990. Who is that Middleton? Okay. Presley, 1998. The perception of being a burden and feeling guilt for being unable to do the same things as everyone else are what can cause many people with disabilities to stop asking for help altogether. That people that people with disabilities do perceive themselves to be burdened may have its origin in the fact that many societies, particularly Western industrialized society, are constructed on the Darwinian premise of survival of the fittest, where any request for help or assistance is perceived as a sign of weakness. any request for help or act of charity, as they may be perceived by some, can lead to a major lowering of self-esteem or even depression. Giving the confidence and self-belief necessary to reach the very top in modern-day elite sport, this can have a major impact on how successful a prospective disabled athlete may become. However, the more disabled athletes within a country who reach the very top and become role model for potential disabled athletes of the future, the greater the possibility of mitigating issues such as this. So pretty much is give them the tool to use to do what they want. Damn it, I forgot the quote that I said on that other video, because I put it very well. They just need to be the tool. We need to stop feeling pity for them. Instead, provide them with what they need, you know, to do to get what they want, because they don't want to be a burden to society. They want to do stuff, so give them the tools to do the things. Okay, transport. Okay, so I sort of covered transport on the ADA. I give examples. Is it this one or the other one? I give examples where in New York, buses have lifts to get wheelchair bound, and taxis have the side doors for all of this. So you guys could go into this, and I think this is the best website that you guys could look into. Physical accessibility, even this problem, time and space. Okay, so this goes into really good details. Okay, physical accessibility, even if problem of time and transport can be overcome or not an issue, further problem of accessibility can arise once an athlete with disability has arrived at their destination. Okay, this part 1, the ADA Act of 1990, where the US says any places must provide ADA accessible to all people with disability and all of that. And I sort of explained that the entrance need to be at least 5 or 6 feet in order for the wheelchair bound to make a complete circle. Bathrooms, doors need to be at a certain feet, a certain distance measurement for them to get in. So see part 1 for all of this. Time and pace. Just getting dressed or changing can take a lot longer than non-disabled individual. Lack of time, the time of the day, and the time it takes to do things can all play a part in arranging and training regime for a sports person with disability. Okay. Claim pace is a major expectation of performance. That's right. When it comes to sports, it's timing. The number one in sports is timing. How fast can you do certain things and all of that. That's what I sort of get from that, but I don't think that's what he meant. Non-disabled people often take pace so much for granted that they feel and express impatience with the slower pace at which some people with disability need to operate. Yeah, so someone without you could just imagine certain things that they will go through. Disability specific implication. One example of disability specific implication is access to guide runners for blind athletes. I never thought of this part. That's interesting. For both pace racing and training, finding and retaining a guide runner for a blind athlete who might be training 8 or 9 times a week, especially one committed enough and fast enough, can be mammoth and time-consuming task in itself. I don't know where I've heard that. I think some blind people, they use other senses, their hearing, smell, and all of that to guide them. They'll know when they're passing near a car, even if the car is not moving, or let's say the car is parked. They use their senses, some sort of a sense, to know they're passing near a car, near a tree. Obviously, the tree, there's probably wind and the thing is blowing, so they could sense certain things. So that's interesting. Adapted equipment. There it is, the cost. This is why I'm here. Cost for equipment, because those athletes need money to buy those equipment. This is why I mostly want to do this. and I want them to get sponsored. Okay, adapted equipment. The cost and availability of adapted equipment for use by athletes with disability can have a major impact upon their participation. A single racing prosthetic for a below the knee amputee with fitting costs, oh my god, just costs under £5,000. Okay, he put where he got this information. And a top of the range and Varicare top and eliminator OSR racing chair, why, costs just under $7,000. That's US dollars. Okay, this is why I want to do this, because I feel like if they want this sport, the Paralympic and the thing that Harry's doing and stuff like that, and Victor's, they need money. So if we talk more about these things, you see, this is the cost of one single one of those things. All right, so companies can use them, to help them get those things. Okay, competition at an appropriate level. The relatively low number of people with disability taking part in sport, especially competitive sport, can have an impact on opportunities for people with disability to get involved and progress with a particular sport. This is further compounded by athletes having to be split up into functional classification grouping in order to try and ensure fair competition. Okay, so the more awareness we put out there, I saw this when I was listening to myself. I saw this. I was like, oh my god, they need to be aware of it, because if nobody is talking about it or is showing it on TV. I give example when I was doing one of the Rising Phoenix review. If TV is not showing it, I didn't know they talk about it. I think it's either the England Olympic or the Chinese one, Olympic, where one of the commentators says about the Paralympic, it's coming or whatever. So I was waiting for it to be shown on TV, because I'm a freaking sport fanatic. I was home, so it's something for me to watch. But they spoke about it, but they didn't show it. If they did, I don't know where it was being shown. But at least the channels that I was watching, the regular Olympic, did not show it. Right after the regular Olympics ended, they went back to regular programming. So they didn't show anything about the Paralympics. So that's a failure in their part here. So when the Olympics, I think they have contract with networks. So they should put that in part of their deal. They have to show the Paralympics too. Because you can only show just the regular people. Because I was waiting to see it. Once I heard the commentator talk about it, I was like, oh, they have that. And then after that, once the regular Olympics done, I didn't hear anything about it. It was never on TV. Maybe, did I see anything in the internet? I don't know. I don't remember seeing anything about it. Okay, access to coaching. Just finding a coach willing to take on an athlete with a disability can be a task itself. Finding one who has the knowledge. I was thinking about that. You have to have the knowledge, because even in personal training, you have to take a test to train people. So you have to know the type of disability the person have, and how your training is gonna accommodate that particular athlete. So the knowledge is very important in that part. You can't train a regular athlete the same way as you train a Paralympian or something like that, because they both need different type of training. You have to learn how the let's say the wheelchair move, and when you're making a turn, how to get yourself to prepare. Not even knowing, just thinking about it, you need knowledge for it. Because when I was in high school, I believe someone was trying to get me into track and field. I was doing pretty good, but I hated it because I keep going in a circle. If I were to train for cross country, I think I'll prefer that because I see different things. But in the track, you're just going around and around. It become boring to me, so I didn't like it. But I don't mind watching other people doing it. So one of the things he was teaching me is the turn. There's a certain ways you have to position your body to make the turn. So I could just imagine a wheelchair bound person making the turn with that with his wheelchair. So a coach need to have knowledge all of that. That's just a small part. All the time and the inclination to gain an understanding of the implication of a particular impairment on the coaching and training process can prove even harder. This I completely understand. I understand it very well. So this guy know exactly what he's talking about, whoever wrote this. Type of schooling. Britain 2004 highlights the impact of schooling on the opportunities for children with disability to become involved in sports. Oh, okay. I know, like I said in one of the videos, I know New York, Manhattan have I believe a school for the blind, and I think in Brooklyn there's another one. There's probably plenty of them, but the ones that I sort of aware, I've seen, either I passed by it and I saw the plaque on the wall saying school for the blind or something like that. And then in Brooklyn, did I pass by it? I'm not sure, but I know there's one in Brooklyn. In particular, he highlights the impact of move toward mainstream of children with disability and the implication this has both for children with disability and for teachers of physical education within mainstream instructions who are often unequipped to deal with them. Two things came to mind. Again, with the Rising Phoenix, when one of the athletes was saying how his dad sort of was tough on him, make him do things on his own, where his mom was like, no, kind of feel bad for him. But now the father had passed. Look at him. He's doing very well for himself if it wasn't for the dad. And the other thing that I thought about on this part is that there are people who knows the implication of the job. They know the people they're gonna deal with are not as fast, or they have their limitation pretty much. They are aware of it. But some of those people who take on the job, I don't know if it's mood that they are in the morning or whatever problem they had at home, but when they come to work, they should leave their problem right at the door, but they continue, or they have no patience with those people. So this is something whoever is in that field should be considerate once you're inside the facility to help any disabled people or any job. Pretty much leave your problem at home, be more professional. Don't take your issues on people, because you're there to help them. Okay, so highlight. Okay, I forgot where I was. Highlight can also be important impact on elite level sport, particularly for those impairment groupings such as wheelchair users, individual impaired, that are particularly difficult to fully integrate into a mainstream physical education class. In addition, the disposal of disabled children into mainstream school has made a new talent and identification much harder than when they were all together in special school. Okay, gender of the British Paralympic track and field team that participate in Sydney 2000, female athletes with disabilities only made up 27.7% of the Paralympic track and field team, whereas non-disabled female athletes made up 40% of Olympic track and field team in Sydney. There is a large body of research already regarding the participation of non-disabled women in sport. Okay, so this, medical coverage or financial. This is where I should have conclusion. Okay, let me read media coverage. Okay, so this is very important. Let me see what he says on that. The media plays a crucial role in informing society about the very existence of sport for people with disability and creating role models that can inspire future generation of disabled athletes. Okay, I said it in other videos. Okay, This is 2 complete days, different days that I'm doing this video. And one thing you could look in the description is I put the date that I do the videos. That's a guide for me. So you could see all the other videos that I've done that I talk about disabled. You could see the date that I recorded it. Okay, and this is almost exactly the same thing that I say. Okay, they need coverage. If there is no coverage, how will people know about it? Okay, although the media coverage of elite sports for the disabled is improving, it is still has some way to go, as pointing out by Britain when he compared the 500 hours of primetime Olympic coverage of the Sydney Games by BBC with the less than 1 hour a day of peak coverage of the Sydney Paralympic game on BBC. See, it's the same thing in the US. They didn't even, okay, I'm gonna take it back. Maybe they show it, I was not aware of it, but the same channel that I was watching the regular Olympics did not show the Paralympics. That's exactly similar to what I'm saying. That's my problem here. Another important issue is the way the media cover sport for people with disabilities. The language they use, okay, this I don't know anything about it, but it's good to know. The language they use, the framing of shots to hide obvious disability in the newspaper, and the portrayal of disabled athletes as valiant heroes rather than just athletes have all come under academic scrutiny. Okay. So the words that they use, okay, financial constraint. This is where I came in and I saw there was a problem here because they need money. This guy covers pretty much all the thing that I was thinking about. According to Southern, okay, maybe I pronounced this word wrong, only 31% of people with disabilities who were of working age were in employment in the mid-80s, and in general these jobs tend to be poorly paid, low status position. In addition to this, Oliver, okay, point out that 60% of people with disabilities in both Britain what is that, Britain and, or maybe it's one word that I forgot to put space. Okay, let me see if I put the space. Okay, yeah, I think there's a space if you didn't put it. Okay. In addition, and the Oliver point out that 60% of people with disabilities in both Britain and the US currently live below the poverty line. Oliver, 1993, claimed that works is central to industrial society due to the fact that it is not only produces the goods to support life, but also helps to create some of the social relationship necessary for satisfactory life. French, 1994, claimed that it is generally presumed that people with disability will be unable to cope, may deter or upset clients, and are more likely to have accident. Oliver, 1993, claimed that people with disabilities are likely to suffer exclusion from the workplace due to perceived inabilities, and as a result face continued creation and dependency upon the state and those around them. All of these facts have an effort on the possibilities for people with disabilities to become involved in sports by restricting the financial means necessary to become involved in and sustain interest in most sporting pastime. Conclusion. In conclusion, the rise and success of popularity of Paralympic Games and Invictus, since this one was done a little bit before Invictus. So, okay, in conclusion, the rise and the success of popularity of Paralympic Games has provided inspiration and role models for people with disability to become involved in sports at all levels, as well as helping to change the perceptions of many amongst the non-disabled population regarding what people with disability are capable of. What is clear is that although disabled athletes go through basically the same developmental stage in their sporting careers as non-disabled athletes and experience much the same problem. That's progress. Okay, I'm inputting my thing here. I can understand this. That, like I was saying in one of my videos, everybody have a baseline. It's what you do, the amount of time you put on your training to improve on your ability. This is where I understand this, and that's exactly right. Okay, you guys should definitely check his website. There's probably more. He knows what he's talking about. There are a large number of additional barriers that can, at worst, prevent disabled athletes from getting involved in sports or prevent them from reaching their full potential. That's what we want, full potential. Okay, these barriers can be tangible ones such as accessibility, transport, or financial issues, or they can be perceptually or psychological barriers that can prevent access to vital services such as top-level coaching, or from a policy perspective can act to strengthen the tangible barriers mentioned above. Yo, this is the best site I've come, because I feel like I wrote this. I felt like I wrote this because I saw the barriers. I saw the especially with financial, all those things that I can think of these people will face, because regular athletes face them. They have to work full time, and then they have to provide time for training, and then the money that they need not only to pay their bills, but they need to buy equipment to practice their respective sport. So I understand this side perfectly, and this is why I'm thinking, okay, just thinking about it, because I want to do more research and look more into things, and I want to talk about the Sussex as well. Maybe it's not promising. Maybe every Wednesday I will put something about the disabled until I get to a point where I start talking about the athletes. I like to, when I do things, even in some of my videos where I focus on certain topic, I like to go to the background of it before leading into the full aspect of my topic. So this is one of the same way I'm doing here, going to the background of stuff, of the Paralympic, the disabled and stuff like that. So this is what I'm doing. Eventually I will start highlighting people with disabled, people who have overcome their injuries. I don't know any, but I'm gonna find out. If I think about it, it is out there. So there's one in particular I'm thinking about already. He's not an athlete, but I follow him. He has a YouTube channel. I think his name is Cole. He's a young man who's dating a African American lady, and he was able-bodied. And you know, when you're a teenager, you do stupid things. So he's one of those who ended up with the ultimate. No, it's not the ultimate because he's still alive, but who the consequences, jump in a shallow water, and then you know he hit a rock, and he's paralyzed. And you know, I'll put his link in the description. You guys could follow him. I occasionally watch his lately, since I've been putting content for about the Sussexes. I haven't had time to even watch TV. When I do watch TV, I fall asleep. It's especially now school start, the kids are home, so I need to work with my, last week was half a day on each, so they were getting the kids into a routine, maneuver around the websites and stuff like that. But once things start getting started, it's gonna be hard for me to make as many videos as possible, because I need to be with my youngest in particular. I need to be with my youngest to help him. So I don't know, but for the ADA kind of series I'm trying to do, maybe once a week. I don't know which day, once a week. So be on the lookout for it. And I've seen I have some new subscribers. Where are they? And I like to welcome you. Thank you for subscribe. And I hope, oh shit, 142. Okay, I didn't expect that. Okay, I'll take it. So 142. Oh, it's 6 o'clock. So one of my videos just went live. That's the one with Oprah, the thumbnails that have Oprah and Harry. And tomorrow you're gonna see the one, well, by the time you see this video, the one that I'm talking about, these both of them will already be live, because like I said, I'm gonna try to put them once a week. So tomorrow, the one that's gonna come is the one with Tyler Perry. They're in good hands. How Tyler Perry made it. So yeah. Oh, yesterday 62 views, not bad. But anyway, new subscribers, welcome. And I'm open to constructive criticism. You probably will not like some of the things that I said, but I'm not here to bash the Sussexes. I am not here at all for that. I'm not that type. I like to tell the truth. I like to tell things the way they are. Obviously, if I say something wrong, I am more open to hear your input on it. And some of the people that I've had on my channel for a while, Cookie and Cream, and there's some other ones, I like the way they interact with me. Even though they correct me on certain things, they make me see certain things. Their wording and things like that are very respectful, so I appreciate all of you, all of your comments. The reason you guys see me able to respond back, I work with my phone. It's not like I'm behind the computer all the time. So I like to interact. So when you put something, you comment on my videos, I want to let you know that I see it. Even if I don't say anything, I'll put a like. That's because I saw it. Just to let you know I'm here. I see you interacting in my channel. So, okay. So that's it. Thanks for watching. And there's more to come. And on the first video, I made a list of the bullet points that I plan on cover before I get into some of the athletes. So this is number 2. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.